All right, well, hello there once again, and welcome to 5 Homes to Freedom, Module 3. We are looking at Lesson 3 here today. So we've already covered how to accelerate the principal paydown, how that works, and we looked at the effect of timing on payments and the misconception of increasing your payments simply makes the mortgage disappear more quickly, when in reality it's all about paying down that principal as quickly as possible. Lesson 3, what we're going to talk about here is generating some extra cash, which will help you create a faster paydown as well. So what we're going to quickly look at is sources of the extra cash. So we'll take a look at the property cash flow itself. We'll then take a look at a personal budget. We'll consider other investments, look at the possibility of multiple streams of income, as well as talking about capital gains. And there are other real estate deals that we will be looking at, but those we're going to be looking at in a little bit more detail in lessons 4, 5, and 6. All right, so when we're looking for extra dollars, the first place we're going to look for these extra dollars is the property that we are investing in itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 100% of the cash flow from that property and apply that towards the debt reduction. Now, in order to maximize the cash flow, what we're going to do is we're going to minimize our expenses. We're not going to budget for maintenance and repairs. It's not to say that we won't do those items or take care of those items if and when they appear, but we're not going to budget for them so that we can create more positive cash flow from the very beginning. We still have to pay for our debt service, which is our principal and interest. We still have to pay for our property taxes and insurance, but everything else can be downloaded to the tenant or tenants. So in order to offset the fact that you're not budgeting for your expenses, your maintenance in particular, if and when something happens, what you will do is you'll use a line of credit that you will have created against one or multiple properties. Use that line of credit to pay the damages, pay the repairs, do whatever the case may be, and then you can redirect some of the cash flow back to paying off that line of credit as quickly as possible, and then go back to, again, increasing your cash flow by not having to allow for the expense budget. This is all about the velocity of money. It's about making use of the money instead of just having that money sitting in an account waiting to be spent. You're making use of it by paying down the debt and using the bank's money, which is sitting there waiting to be used, but it's not costing you anything until you actually have to use it. So that's the obvious one, the cash flow. There's other ways of generating extra cash flow out of a property as well. It all depends on where you're investing, whether your province and or state will allow these types of things. You need to check with your tenant board to see what the rules and regulations are. In some provinces you can, or some states, you can actually charge extra rent for the garage. So if you have a double car garage and you want to rent out those spaces, you can add an extra $50, $75 a month to whichever tenant wants to use the garage. If neither tenant wants to rent them out, then you can rent the garage space out to an individual who's living off-site but wants to use it for storage. You can also charge for extra tenants. So you can set up your lease that includes 2 adults, but there's an extra charge for every other person that lives on site. You can also charge for pet fees, and there's really no guideline as to how much or how little you charge. Again, though, you need to check with the local regulations to see whether you can even do that. All-inclusive is a way to make a little bit of extra cash as well. So not everybody is going to be able to qualify for when they apply for the electricity bill or the gas bill. Quite often the companies will do a credit check to make sure that they will pay the bills. You could have a really good tenant who's got really bad credit, and in a case like that you may want to pay the bills on their behalf, but of course you're going to want to make sure that your rent it goes up enough to cover those expenses. So what you do is you take a look at what the past bills were over the course of a year, and you do an equal billing. So for the gas, let's say that the equal billing was $50 a month. Well, let's say an easy number, $100 a month. So $1,200 over the course of the year. Well, that's the minimum you're going to put the rent up. So if your rent is $1,000, you're now $1,000 per month. It's now $1,100. But to hedge a little bit, because when people are paying all-inclusive, they tend to waste the energy as well. So maybe you make it $175 a month. So now your electricity is the same thing. So instead of charging them what the actual usage is, you're going to buffer that up a little bit so that if they use more than they would normally use, you collected enough money to cover it off, but you should be able to put more money in your pocket as well. The appliance sales, not a big money maker for sure, but I mean, you can make a couple extra $100 potentially. You can even sell the appliances. If the tenant who is moving in doesn't want to buy your appliances, you can either keep the appliances as backup, or you can sell those appliances to another individual as well. Handy person charges. So what you can do as the owner of the property, you can control what is allowed to happen with the property. For example, we don't allow our tenants to install their own window air conditioners for a couple of reasons. We want to make sure that they're installed properly so they don't cause damage to our windows, the window frames, or drip inside on the wall. So we want to make sure that it's done properly. And then from a liability perspective, we want to make sure that it doesn't fall out of the window and fall down and kill somebody below. So we charge $50 to install it. We charge $50 to take it out. So that's a spring and fall. That generates another $1,000 for us. Again, it depends on the number of units you have. So that's one way of being the handy person around there, to do odd jobs for them and just charge back those fees as well. It's not part of the lease. So the next way of creating some extra dollars is to take a look at your own personal budget. Now, I will ask people, this is quite a fun exercise to do at a live event actually, because I'll ask people, can you afford to invest 10% of your after-tax dollars? And without doubt, everybody in the room says absolutely not. Now, yet everybody, maybe not everybody, but people will still waste their money. In my opinion, I consider wasting their money when they buy their lunch at work every day. They buy Starbucks coffee. They treat themselves to a new outfit or buy new tools and toys. They have his and her ATVs in the driveway. They drive brand new vehicles. They have 2-week vacations in the Bahamas every year because they deserve it. They just paid $1,000 for their child's birthday party to have the bouncy castle and the clowns show up. They eat out every Friday night, or they go out drinking with the boys and girls after the game. These are things that people will spend money on, and they have no idea, no concept of how much money it's actually taking out of their budget. So just ask yourself, can you truly, can you not save 10% of your after-tax dollars? So let's take a look. I know that the funny thing is, I know that this is going to anger some of the students listening to the program. In the past, when I've done this, I've had some emails coming back at me saying, you've no right to judge me. You've no right to tell me what I can spend my money on, what I can't spend my money on. And I am not judging you in any way, shape, or form. All I am doing is suggesting you look at yourself and truly ask yourself, do you need that extra Starbucks coffee every day? Can you not make your lunch and take it to work? There's a lot of ways that you can save money. So you can definitely continue to live and spend like that if you wish. No judgment on my part, because it really is not bothering me or affecting me at all. But it's definitely going to take you longer to achieve your goals. So just ask yourself, how badly do you really want it? And what are you willing to give up in order to get it? So I'd just like to give you, a quick little example here. If you have a mortgage of $300,000 that we've been talking about at 2.5%, 25-year amortization, there's our monthly payment of $1,343.90. our balance after year one is going to be $291,234.96. Now let's say that you are a two-income family earning $90,000 before tax. Your after tax is going to be approximately $65,000 per year or $5,400 per month. If you were to take 10% of each month's income and place it in a savings account, at the end of the year you would have saved $6,500 additional dollars. Apply this amount annually to your mortgage, and the new mortgage at the end of the year will be quite surprising actually. So there's our original mortgage balance was $291,234. Our new mortgage balance at year one has dropped to $284,000. Now that's a $6,500 savings. Over the course of the life of that mortgage, we've just shortened it down to 16.25 years. That is a phenomenal amount of time. That's just simply by taking a look at your budget to see how you can create some extra dollars. I've included this one as just something for you to think about. And again, please do not be insulted by this. It's just something to think about. And if you can save a little bit of cash, why not do it? Because it's, you got to look at the bigger picture, the bigger goal, achieve your financial freedom that much quicker. The more you do to save money and apply that towards paying down the debt, the more quickly you can get to your financial goal of financial freedom. So if you're serious about adjusting your budget, I have two simple suggestions. You can do one or both, or one or the other, or do both. The first one is to simply track your money, and I mean track it. Every penny that comes in and every penny that goes out, you write it down in a book. It's a pain in the butt to do, but once you get going at it, it becomes a habit, and you do that for 2 months. I can virtually guarantee that you will be amazed by the amount of money that you spend, and when you see it, you'll be shocked. So that's just a good way for you to realize, visually how much money you're actually wasting on the coffees. You stop for a snack, a bag of chips, donut, whatever the case may be. You start saving money pretty darn quick when you do this. The other exercise I suggest is to just simply set aside 10% into a separate account. And what I would suggest you do is have this done automatically. So if you're doing a lot of companies pay people directly now into their bank account. So you can set it up in your bank account that when that money comes in, 10% automatically goes out into another account as well, into another savings account. So you don't actually see the money. Now what you have to do is you have to live off the balance of the money that's in your account. The challenge is a lot of people will fall prey to their credit card, and they'll start to use their credit card because they don't have enough cash in their account. You have to refuse that temptation. Do not use your credit cards. Do not even use your debit card. The debit card is it's a great luxury to have, but we spend far more money than we normally would spend if we were just to use cash. Try and get into the habit of going back to using cash, and you'll discover that you spend a lot less money. So that's the personal side of things. So let's take a look at some other investments that you may own. You may have other existing rental properties already that you've been using to try and build your portfolio already. So you could use some of the rental income from those properties, siphon some of the money off there into a separate pool that you can then use directly to reduce the debt on the homes in your 5 homes portfolio. You also have the opportunity to use your mutual funds and or your registered retirement funds, whether they be RSPs or your 401ks. So let's take a closer look at these two. When you've got other investments, in your mutual fund market, that's where the vast majority of people invest. Now, I know some people are very successful at investing in the stock market and making a pile of money, and good for you. And I mean that honestly. It's not something I do because I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not knowledgeable about it. Therefore, I stay away from it. And I think that's what the average person does as well. So the average person by default will invest in the mutual funds and or their registered retirement funds. So if you take a look at your mutual funds, if you have $60,000 in there and it's earning 5%, which I think would be on the high end in today's economy, you're going to be making $3,000 profit over the course of the year. If you were to take that same $60,000, pull it out of the mutual funds, invest it into one single real estate deal that's worth $300,000, your cash flow is a modest $200. I'm being very, very conservative here. Your cash flow is only $200 or $2,400 a year. You've achieved a 4% return on your investment. But that's just the cash flow. Take into consideration the principal pay down. The tenants are paying your rent down, or paying the mortgage down with their rent every month. At the end of the year, your mortgage has been reduced by $7,600 annually. That doesn't put cash in your pocket today, I realize that, but it does count towards your annual return. So that's a 13% return on your investment. And then when you take into consideration the fact that the property is going to go up in value because of appreciation, and if we just use a modest 3% appreciation on a $300,000 property, that means the value's gone up $9,000 on a $60,000 investment, and that's a 15% return for a grand total of 31%. I think you can see that it's pretty well a no-brainer that the real estate deal far outperforms the mutual funds, yet most people still think and consider that the mutual funds are low risk compared to real estate. And the reality is, and this is my opinion, that many mutual funds have actually failed and disappeared, underperformed, and people have lost a lot of money in their mutual funds. Whereas in real estate, yes, you may have subpar years or whatever, but real estate doesn't disappear. You've got insurance on your properties. So it is a very safe investment if you do it properly. So that's the mutual funds. Let's take a look at your retirement funds now. So let's assume that we've got $100,000 in retirement funds and they're earning 5% interest or $5,000 a year profit, which again I think is a little bit on the high end for today's market. When you withdraw your retirement funds, you get hit by the taxman. The taxman wants their money back and they want it back now. So they're going to hold back, it depends on the individual, let's say 30% taxes, and that's going to leave you with $70,000. Just to be a little bit on the safe side, if they even pulled back 40% or $40,000, it still gives you that same $60,000 to invest in the same real estate deal. So you're going to get your 4% cash on cash return, you're going to get a 13% principal pay down return, 15% appreciation return. So you're still going to outperform the retirement funds, plus you're going to have access to the cash flow, whereas cash flow on your retirement fund stays inside your registered retirement fund. Now, I've got nothing, I'm guilty of investing in my retirement funds years ago. I no longer invest in them because I don't want my retirement funds to grow anymore at all. However, I haven't cashed them out because of the tax implications. And the reason why I don't want my taxes or my registered retirement fund to grow anymore is that I don't plan on retiring poor. The whole concept of the retirement funds is that you pull the money back out and you pay the taxes on the money in the future after you retired and you're in a lower tax bracket. Well, that doesn't fit my goal anymore. I plan on being in a higher tax bracket, not a lower tax bracket. Therefore, it's not beneficial for me to have the retirement funds growing anymore. Now, another thing is that you can benefit from depreciation if you were to take the money out of your retirement funds. And just a caveat here, I'm not suggesting anybody takes their money out of their retirement funds. Do not do that without seeking out some advice from your financial advisor. And when I say financial advisor, I'm not talking about the financial salesman that sold you the funds in the first place. I'm talking about a true, real financial advisor. That could be your accountant, or that could be a person that you pay for financial advice as well. So the other thing I just want to touch on here is when you are investing your money into real estate, you're able to take advantage of depreciation. So for example, on this $300,000 profit, the building value is probably going to be around $250,000. In year one, you can depreciate 2% of that value. In year two, you can depreciate 4%. So that means in year one, you can have a $5,000 tax deduction. That doesn't mean you pay $5,000 less taxes. It means that your income, taxable income, is going to be lowered by $5,000. And the same thing in year two. So it doesn't replace the tax paid registered funds, the benefits of the tax, the tax benefits of those registered funds, but it certainly helps. Then there's the opportunity for multiple streams of income. A lot of people have this mindset, they've got a job, they can't do anything else. Well, why not? If you're a teacher, for example, why not teach summer school or take on some tutoring after hours? Earn a little bit of extra cash. If you happen to be a handy person and you work 5 days a week earning an income someplace, why not work Saturdays for seniors? Get yourself paid $20 an hour. Or if you're that weekend mechanic, start doing some odd jobs for other people. Multi-level marketing programs, there's a lot of really good businesses out there. There's some not so good ones as well. You have to do your research and check them out. But if you're looking at getting into a second business, a multi-level marketing business is a great way to get started. It's very cost effective, and the really good ones will actually teach you how to do it and do it well. Buying and selling, whether it be online or going around yard sales. I know there's some people who go around to all the yard sales. They pick up items that they feel they can clean up, and then they'll have a yard sale themselves a couple times a year. One former student of mine actually was doing the buying and selling online as a hobby, and it became so big for him he was able to quit his job as a manager and now buys and sells online only, and he does very, very well doing that. Creating crafts and selling crafts of craft. There's all kinds, this is the whole point of this is just to help you start thinking of things that are different that can help you generate some extra cash. I'm not telling anybody that they need to go do this. All I'm doing is planting the seed of thought so that you can start thinking about other ideas. Capital gains. Capital gains is a tax that we have to pay to the taxman for any capital gain on a property that we sell. Now in Canada, when we sell an investment property, we have to pay 50%. We have to claim 50% of that capital gain and then pay tax on it at whatever rate the individual is claiming it. In the U.S., it is very similar. They have the same capital gains tax. However, they have the option where you can if you reinvest that capital gain back into another investment vehicle of equal or greater value, then you can defer the capital gain. It's a really nice benefit that here in Canada we don't have. However, you need to be prepared ahead of time. So don't sell a property and unless you've got another property lined up to invest in within 6 months, because you've got to get that money moving back into another investment, or else you'll get caught paying the taxes. And the whole, so the other option here is instead of selling a property and potentially paying capital gains on it, what about remortgaging it? Hang on to the property. Maybe it doesn't fit your portfolio exactly the way you want it right now, but maybe it's not a bad property to hang on to. What you can do is remortgage that property and take up to 80% of the value of that property out in the form of a mortgage, and that's tax-free money to you because it's not earned income, and you can apply that money towards the debt on some of your other properties to help them generate better cash flow. You can also remortgage not using conventional lenders, and you can go up to 90 or even 100%, especially if you're using registered retirement funds. So again, it's just to plant that seed of thought, something to think about to help you generate ideas to come up with some extra cash so that you can achieve your goals sooner rather than later. So again, I expect there'll be lots of questions about this lesson as well. So please wait until after you've watched the live recording. If you can't wait and you need to email me right away, that's fine as well. And my email is ken@5homestofreedom.com. So that's the end of lesson 3, and look forward to seeing you on lesson 4. Take care.